Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to the... On this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, we review Transformers Stormbringer number 1. An unpublished Ladybird story has recently been discovered, and we have some new screenshots from the Transformers Alliance mobile game. Today is Friday, April 30th, 2021, and this is episode 231 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that can't wait to celebrate Christmas at TFCon this December. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hello.
Fantastic fan artist Apollo, aka Robo Apollo.
Hey there.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hello. Let's talk Transformers.
Okay.
Let's change it up a bit.
All right. As always, we started the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who give us money on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support the show. And this week we welcome our newest Donatreon, Steve, who has just joined up recently. Thank you, Steve. We really appreciate it. And we've been enjoying the emails you've been sending us with pictures of your toys. And we mentioned this in the toy show, but yeah, keep those pictures coming. You are, as one of the newest Donatrons, you do get another perk, and that is getting access to the early uncut bonus versions of the Empire of Rust Transformers Live Play RPG podcast. And so this Monday, May 3rd, you will get access to Empire of Rust episode 49, Steel Haven for some, Steel Trap for others. That's an ominous title. So yeah, I think this is where we're getting a little bit of action heating up in the Empire of Rust series. We're getting close to a big battle coming up. So you can check out this episode before everyone else gets a chance. So this is the long, uncut, lots of stuff stuffed into the episode, and then you get it before everyone else does. But don't spoil it for all our listeners on the regular Empire of Rust feed. Also, you will, this week we are giving a special treat to just regular Empire of Rust listeners, so this will be on the free feed. This is a special interlude episode, and it's called Ironhide's Shopping Trip. And so this tells a story of what Ironhide got in between the last episode 48 and episode 49. So check that out as well. And that's available to everyone on at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. So, Apollo, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Cool. And ready to talk comics and media in our alt mode show.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
All right. We'll get into some comics when we get to the review. But let's jump right in and talk about some comics news. Okay, first up, we've got some comics covers for the last issue of the Transformers Back to the Future crossover that is finally coming to a conclusion very soon. So we've got the retailer incentive cover by Dan Schoening and cover B by Philip Murphy. So both of these are cool little covers. I really like that Dan Schoening retailer incentive cover, especially with Marty there in the front and center, and then all the G1 Autobots behind him, and Gigawatt, of course, and then Doc Brown sitting on Optimus Prime's shoulder. That's a really cool image. Then we've also got the Transformers solicitations, comic solicitations for July 2021. And that includes issue 33 of the Transformers 2019 series with a retailer incentive cover by Alex Milne. So it's always good to see Alex Milne's art making an appearance, and it's great that he's got a cover in issue 33. In addition to that, for the solicitations for July, this is coming in July of this year. We've also got Beast Wars number 6. So Transformers 33, Beast Wars number 6. And we also have the My Little Pony Transformers crossover series 2. And this is the final issue number 4 of that series. So that series started this month, actually. I think the first issue is out this week. And then we'll be wrapping up in July. So that's what you can look forward to for July comics. So let's move on and get into our comic review. All right, so this week I made a mistake because I thought there wasn't going to be a IDW comic being released this week, but I found out too late that My Little Pony Transformers Series 2 Issue 1 came out this week. So
Honestly, it's not your fault. Who knows when their books are coming out?
Yeah, it's been we've had issues, or IDW's had issues, I should say. But yeah, so we since we didn't think that we were going to get a new comic, we prepared a classic review for this week, and we are going back into the nostalgia IDW universe. So this is the previous IDW universe before the 2019 reboot. And this is an early series. This was the second series that was published by IDW for Transformers Comics. This is Stormbringer, and we are going to review Stormbringer number 1, the first issue in this series. It was written by Simon Furman, art by Don Figueroa, colors by Josh Burcham, letters by Robbie Robbins, and edited by Chris Ryle and Dan Taylor. So, Apollo, I'm curious, have you had much exposure to the older IDW comics?
No, I haven't. I started with More Than Meets the Eye. So I started kind of late into the IDW run and went back. But I haven't read any of their older stuffs. I read All Hail Megatron, and then I started from Dark Cybertron onward. But that's kind of my knowledge base and reading base is that section. So I haven't really read any of this older stuff at all.
Okay. So this is completely new. Okay. Well, yeah, that makes me curious to get your take on this. So you are, I'd say you have, you do not have any of the baggage, that us older fans have when coming into these stories. Particularly, this was written by Simon Furman, who is a longtime Transformers writer. He's been writing Transformers comics since the 80s. He was the main writer on the Transformers UK comics for a long time. And then he took over the US series as well. So that was, so when I was reading these back in the day, I was excited to see Simon Furman on this because, he had such a long history. Don Figueroa was an awesome artist. He's a fan artist who, in the Dreamwave era made the jump to being a professional Transformers artist, and IDW was smart enough to pick him up and bring him forward into the IDW era, and can have him continuing to work on Transformers comics. Josh Burcham is a colorist, and he's been doing this for a long time, and he's also a friend of the show. He gave us one of our first interviews back in the day when we were just getting started, and he's currently doing the art on the Beast Wars series this year. So lots of history here. Okay, so we had 3 covers. Cover A was the kind of wraparound, over the entire cover of the comic with Jetfire and the Technobots, and that's by Don Figueroa and Josh Burcham. And then cover B was just Thunderwing, all flamed up, and this is also art by Don Figueroa. Actually, and looking at the credits, this was colored by Rob Ruffalo. So the wiki says it was Josh Burcham, but actually, in the comic itself, it says Rob Ruffalo did the covers for this one. So I'm going with what's printed on the comic. And then cover retailer incentive. This is actually just cover A, but uncolored. So just the line art from cover A. So Apollo, I'm going to ask you, which of these 3 covers did you like the best?
I like the wraparound cover, so cover A with Skyfire on there, and the other bots. I thought it was really dynamic, and there was a lot of movement, and I just love how he's posed on it.
Yeah.
So
cool. Daryl, which cover did you like?
I'm going to agree with Apollo. I also really liked cover A. I mean, not to jump ahead, but this cover was part 1 of 4. It was like a joining cover. So doesn't join in the way that you would think. It's not like a lengthy join, but it's like this is the top left corner of a giant image. So if you folded all 4 books open, you could create like this massive picture, which was just gorgeous. And yeah, so I really liked this picture a lot. And this cover itself always kept bringing me back thinking, I need to read this book. And really was the impetus behind why I suggested it this week.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. And Jeremy, which of these covers did you like?
I have to agree. It's definitely the wraparound cover. It's just like so good. Fits the story. Cover B, I mean, I like the art. It's just so dark, and I love seeing all the different characters in cover A. And yeah, I wasn't aware that it was connecting like that, and now I need to see which of these I do have and which I need, and try to pick those up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I will make it unanimous and also pick cover A. So yeah, this is a clean sweep this week. Cover A takes the prize. It's a really well done cover. Both the lines and the colors are great. And this design of Jetfire and the Technobots just looks really cool. All right, so let's get into the story. The Autobot science ship Calabi Yao, crewed by Jetfire and the Technobots, is making a routine survey of the Transformers' abandoned home planet Cybertron. Nosecone alerts Jetfire to an unusual energy reading. Jetfire is skeptical. After all, the planet has been dormant for over 700 stellar cycles. But Afterburner confirms they've triple-checked the readings and the sensor equipment. After all this time, there appears to be energon on Cybertron. But the energon has a strange composition. It appears to be highly concentrated and potent. Nosecone theorizes that this may be due to contamination from elements or radiation from space that has been bombarding the planet, but he can't be sure. So Jetfire decides this is worth a closer investigation. The Calabi Yao touches down on the turbulent surface of Cybertron, and Jetfire, Strafe, Lightspeed, and Scattershot proceed on foot to investigate. Afterburner and Nosecone remain on the ship and return to orbit to provide aerial telemetry. The ground team has a difficult time navigating the surface since it is plagued with particle storms and cosmic radiation. Eventually, they make their way towards the source of the energon signal, which leads them to Thunderhead Pass. Meanwhile, light years away on the Autobots' command hub space station, Optimus Prime contemplates the events that forced both the Autobots and Decepticons to flee Cybertron for good. A cataclysmic event occurred that forced the warring factions to join forces against a common threat. They stopped it all those cycles ago, but Prime can't shake the feeling that wasn't the end. Optimus Prime is brought back to the present when Searchlight brings him a message sent by pulse-wave transmission from Prowl's team stationed on Earth, an unremarkable planet in the Sol system. It seems the Decepticon infiltration unit there has engaged siege mode ahead of schedule, but the threat level is not yet clear. Prime is intrigued, but it's not a priority. He orders Searchlight to monitor the situation and provide updates as warranted, and then he turns back to his internal monologue. Back on the surface of Cybertron, Jetfire and his team continue their analysis. As they prepare to launch an automated probe into the crater of Thunderhead Pass, Scattershot raises some concerns about possibly having the past come back to haunt them. Jetfire shares his hesitancy, but he also worries that if they ignore this rogue energy reading and don't investigate further, they may be caught unawares by a new cataclysm. As they work, Jetfire reminisces that they should have listened and reacted when the alarm was raised earlier all those cycles ago. The Decepticon scientist Thunderwing was the first to warn them that Cybertron was headed for an ecological disaster. The Autobot-Decepticon war had drained the planet's resources beyond the point of no return. Thunderwing convened a holographic meeting of all Cybertron's top scientists, Autobot and Decepticon, to try and impress how dire the situation was. Regardless, many bots like Soundwave refused to heed Thunderwing's warning. If they had, maybe things would not have fallen apart back then. Jetfire is determined not to repeat that past mistake. They launched the probe to collect more data on the Energon readings. They can't stay on the surface much longer since a particle storm is approaching, so Jetfire orders the team to move out so they can rendezvous with their ship and get clear of the surface. But before they can call the Calabi Yao for a pickup, they are suddenly attacked. Unknown assailants using cloaking technology have caught them by surprise. Lightspeed and Strafe are taken out first. Jetfire and Scattershot have time to fight back and fire their weapons at their unseen enemies in the darkness. But their weapons cause a chain reaction in the particle storm that is upon them, shorting out their circuits and overloading their systems. Jetfire tries to send a warning signal to Nosecone and Afterburner back on the ship, but it's too late. The cloaked enemies are on them and take them out. Back on the ship, Afterburner has lost contact with Jetfire, but Nosecone finds they've got bigger problems. 3 missiles are closing in on their position fast. They have just moments to get to the escape pods before contact. They manage to launch a distress buoy, but it's unclear if they made it off the ship in time as the Calabi Yao explodes in a ball of fire. Back at the Autobot command hub, Optimus Prime's memories continue to plague him. Somehow he knows that the cataclysm that destroyed Cybertron will return sooner or later. And in a cage deep down below Cybertron, Jetfire awakens to odd chanting of a name. With horror, he realizes that the bots who attacked him are chanting the name of a bot long thought dead. From his prison, he sees the bots gathered around the dormant form of Thunderwing. And that is the end of issue 1, to be continued. So, before I give any commentary, Apollo, I want to put you on the spot a little bit and get your opinion without having any, any preconceived notions and background that I might give. So I'm just curious to see how this felt, from a completely fresh perspective.
I love the art. I've seen art of Dreamwave stuff, and this reminded me a lot of that. I thought the art was very fantastic, and this must have been. And you probably saw there was some discourse on Twitter about like art styles and stuff this previous week, but this seemed like kind of like the in-house art style for IDW, because it looks like a lot of Alex's work is very similar to this, and it's just the characters have so much depth, and the environments are so detailed, and the spaceship that Jetfire's on is really it's just, I loved all the different shots and everything art-wise. Story-wise, I was more interested in the Jetfire stuff. I liked the stuff that had the flashbacks for Optimus, but I wish they would have just done that in like one sequence instead of like switching back and forth, because it was really hard for me to follow. But the Jetfire stuff was really good. Like that really sucked me in to the writing more. I was kind of curious, because I don't have back knowledge on this, why Megatron was helping Optimus get up, in that one flashback. And I'm like, it's like, oh, I guess, they were teaming up to fight someone together, because, usually it'd be Megatron wanting to take Optimus out himself. So, I thought that was really interesting. And I do think the way Optimus was written in regards to him thinking back on his memories, it was good. It just wasn't what I was interested in, if that makes sense. Yeah. So those are my initial thoughts on it.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I think that at least that sounds like the first issue did a good job of drawing you in. So maybe hopefully that leads you to pick up the second issue, because this is a very much kind of setting the table. So just for everyone who was coming in with a little bit of background knowledge, this was still kind of an original storyline. Like at this point, no one reading the story knew where the backstory was going with what happened to Thunderwing. We did know, like, Thunderwing was a character that was used back in the 80s comics, but he was used in a very different way. So having this new version of Thunderwing, and it's also a little bit of a question here, because it starts with, like, in Jetfire's flashback, he says, well, Thunderwing was the one who warned us of this coming catastrophe. But then, later on, they make it look like, well, was Thunderwing actually the cause of the catastrophe? So that's also a question that gets answered in later issues, but is left as an open question here in the storyline. So, I kind of like that setup. I do. It is a little bit less action heavy, but we do get those hints of the previous events that in the flashbacks. Simon Furman likes his monologue, so giving Optimus Prime kind of a brooding monologue that's a bit of a signature move for him. So that's a little bit to be expected from stories he writes. But yeah, definitely I think the Jetfire and Technobot story was the main action here. And things do heat up considerably in the next 3 issues after this first issue, but yeah, and I definitely agree about the art. Don Figueroa has been a really well-known artist for Transformers comics, and he's one of the greats. I would say him and Alex Milne are definitely in the top pantheon of Transformers artists, along with folks like Guido Guidi, Casey Collar, it's his art is always super detailed and really. Really well done, really, and the storytelling, the visual storytelling he does a really good job there. So, it also, since Don Figueroa did do he did the art on Transformers War Within, which was a Dreamwave comic back in the day that was well known for giving redesigns to all the Transformers characters. Like, he basically the War Within storyline was set in the early days of the war on Cybertron, so before any of the Autobots and Decepticons had gotten Earth modes. So he basically redesigned all the characters to have Cybertronian modes. So that's why Optimus Prime has this particular look to him. This is basically his Cybertronian design that he basically borrowed from the Dreamwave comic that he also worked on. So borrowed from himself basically for the art design. Mm-hmm.
I think I saw that there's an Mastermind Creations figure coming out in this style for Optimus. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's this was I think it was a good start for this miniseries. So Daryl, what did you think? Now you mentioned you hadn't you'd always meant to read this, but it had somehow always gone to the bottom of your pile. Now that you've cracked it open, what do you think?
Well, it is. You're right. The first issue is a little slow, but it is definitely building a lot of tension. The reveal of Thunderwing at the end is really exciting. He looks a whole lot different than what I'm used to, and I definitely understand why some of the figures of Thunderwing that we've gotten over the past look like this. So, kind of a little bit of context for that now. I really like the use of Jetfire in this, and obviously he's pictured in his Classics design, which is a figure that I have of him. So that's kind of cool. A nice little bit of retro.
This was the design that Classics borrowed from. So this comic was made before that first. Design.
Okay, yeah, cool.
This was the first version of that design, and they borrowed it from this to create that toy.
I was very interested in what kind of the flashback between Optimus and Megatron, where Megatron's kind of kneeling over the battered Optimus's body, and they appear to be on the same side of this confrontation. So, what confrontation are they talking about? Who's the enemy that they've both kind of teamed up against? Do we find out? Is it Thunderwing? I follow along in the next couple issues to kind of piece this together. So yeah, it builds a lot. The art is fabulous. Going through this, I miss Don Figueroa's art, because I was reading the books back in this day, and I just for whatever reason never came across this storyline, and so I just missed it. And I did read the ongoing that Don was on, and getting back and getting into these books, I miss his art. It's really great, and I wish he would come back to Transformers. I'm excited for issue 2. I'm hoping that we can do it on the show, because I'd have to really dig somewhere for my issues of this. So I don't know where they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a pirate has dropped all 4 issues digitally in our online storage somewhere. Yeah. So you might be able to read ahead if you're so interested. All right, Jeremy, what did you think of this comic? I think you've read this previously, right?
Yeah, but it's been a while. I enjoyed it. Like Daryl said, it's real slow. It is setting up a lot of stuff, and I had forgotten how they use these to weave in like kind of the ongoing narrative across all of these different series. Because it was like this. Was this in tandem with the ongoing, or was this still when they were doing little miniseries?
This was still when they were doing miniseries. So the first miniseries, right, Infiltration, had just finished when this first issue came out. So this was the second miniseries that they produced.
They're still setting up the whole universe as well.
Right.
I really like the science stuff, playing on that aspect of Jetfire. Kind of, he was a scientist in G1. And just building that up, and then I thought that was just all done incredibly well. I like having his alternate mask, kind of, using it when they go to the planet. Mm-hmm. That was kind of a neat, use of the character, like the toy character. The Optimus Megatron stuff did throw me off a bit, or I guess that seemed to play into the story. But the other Optimus stuff, the kind of present day, that is what was going on to the main Earth story that they were trying to tell. And reading it now on its own, that doesn't really kind of read as well unless you were going to do a full read through of everything from the beginning. But it doesn't throw me off too well or too much. And, like Charles said, the art is fantastic. So, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think my biggest complaint is the page where Jetfire is talking with all the other characters on like Hollow, like all the other scientists. The Hollow kind of displays were hard to differentiate at times. I see what they were trying to do with making them look transparent, but it just didn't really work that well for me. And having like the back of someone's head, it was just hard to tell, what character they were. But outside of that, I really like the art.
Jetfire needs to do a Zoom update.
Yeah. Well, this was back in 2006. So, they were probably using old school Skype. But I'm looking forward to finding time to continue this. And I'm sure that IDW will give us plenty of opportunities to not have new books, so we have gaps. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to go through.
All right. Well, that is our review of Stormbringer issue 1. And yeah, so as we any weeks we have off, maybe we'll come back and revisit this series. We got 3 more issues to look at, so stay tuned for that. Probably not next week because we will have new books next week, so we'll see.
I think we have 3 books on tap, including the review we recorded last week to get to actually release.
Yeah, that probably maybe that gets the first the first pick is we'll get that review out that we already recorded. All right, well, that is our review of Stormbringer number 1, so we will move on to Transformers Media News.
All right, and in media news this week, we've got just a couple stories, but the first one is one that Jeremy posted up here for us, and it follows along with a thread of artist Mike Collins, who did some storyboards for a Ladybird book back in the day that never saw the light of day. And he recently discovered these storyboards that he did in some old files and decided, you know what, I'm just going to post these to the internet and see if people like them. So there's a couple pieces of art here from an unreleased book, and yeah, they look fun. So yeah, it's can't really tell. He doesn't have any information as to why it got, it never came out, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he said he couldn't find the script either, but he thinks it was a Decepticon plot to destroy the Alaska pipeline.
Oh.
Wow. Cool.
Well, yeah. So hopefully we get more of this from Mr. Collins, and maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see if we can get it not officially published, but maybe he'll just kind of put out the like a high res file of it or something like that, and we can print it off.
People in the thread were asking maybe TF Nation could pull something together with like Simon Furman and come up with a new story with this art.
Sure.
Be fun.
And the second story we've got is for mobile gaming, and we've got some screenshots from Transformers Alliance, and it's in beta testing right now. So there's some screenshots here, and they look pretty good, I guess. It's a mobile game, so you're getting standard kind of mobile kind of stuff. The beta is in Asia. I don't know what language it's in, but it's
Japan, and then it's supposed to be going to Australia very soon.
Okay.
Or right now, I guess.
Cool. Well, the Transformer characters themselves look pretty awesome. It is a fight-based game, but the characters, we've got. What did I see? I see Long Haul, I think it is. Obviously, Optimus. There's Gears, Ratchet. Who's this yellow guy? The hell is that?
It kind of looks like Giamottis, that guy from the comics, who's like not in anything else. So I would be surprised if they put that guy in this game.
Yeah, there's Star Saber, and
Star Saber versus Scrapper. That seems a little mismatched.
So yeah, there's the characters that they seem to have on here are pretty wide and varied. The Decepticon side that I see from like the title card, I see Megatron, Starscream, Soundwave. I see a couple Insecticons. I see Shockwave on there, and I think that's Scrapper in the background, far back. Autobots, I see Wheeljack, RC, Ratchet, Ironhide, Gears, Bumblebee, and Optimus. So, and then there's there's going to be a fair supply of characters in here. Looks like you can change up the color palette on your figures or your characters and stuff. There's tons of characters in here. I'm just flipping through. I see Jazz and
There's RC.
RC, yep. There's a blue character here with like Wolverine claws. I don't know who that is. Thrust.
No idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters here. So it's got potential. So yeah, if you're interested in a new mobile game for Transformers, it's worth a shot. I know that I'll try it. I've tried them all. So, I'll give it a shot, and if it's dumb, then I'll just leave it. So yeah, but it's got potential. Anyway, is anyone else kind of, interested in giving this thing a try?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Not
all right.
Too big on fighting games on mobile, but
yeah.
At the very least, the artwork looks good. Was that directed at me?
Yeah. Charles has a history of playing dumb games.
Oh.
Okay.
I mean, oh.
You played the last Transformers game. That's what
I did, and it was not
I've
great.
heard things about that. I mean, I'd try this out. I'm like Jeremy. I'm not a huge fan of fighting games. I actually really don't play video games anymore, but I'd be willing to give it a shot. I'd be more interested in like a Pokemon Go style game where with Transformers, but that's just me. So,
isn't that coming? Or is this it? Was this the one we thought was going to be a Pokemon Go style game?
Oh, I have no idea. I know, if there is one coming out, that would be awesome. But, but I love I think the characters look really good in here. So it'll be interesting to see how the gameplay works.
Right on. All right. Well, we'll eagerly await the results of the beta, and we'll see how it reviews in Australia, and then hopefully we can get some looks at it over here. But yeah, that's it for media news.
All right, and we will finish up the show with convention news.
All right, this is just a quick update. TFCon Toronto 2021 has been rescheduled due to delayed vaccine rollout in Canada and restrictions on gatherings. And it is now going to be December 10th through 12th, 2021. We went into more detail in the toy show, kind of talking about our concerns. So I guess we're not going to kind of rehash it here. But if you did have a hotel reservation for the July TFCon, it has been canceled. They will announce in the future, or they have a new hotel block that you can get right now. They'll announce in the future about registration information. And then if you were an exhibitor, your booking has been moved to the new date. So again, listen to the toy show for our discussion if you want to just hear us go into more detail on our concerns and everything. And yeah, and hope this happens. But as we said on Wednesday, that being so close to Christmas is going to be a risk. So anyway, that is it for convention news.
All right, and that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Again, we always end our show by giving a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatreons. And thanks to John Forex Levengood and Dinobot Maximize for continuing to support the show at our highest level. And we've still got merchandise on our TeePublic store. That's at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. And you can get all our shirt designs there. And if you buy anything from TeePublic through that link, that will help out the show. Apollo, why don't you tell everyone where they can find your awesome artwork online?
Thanks. Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RoboApollo, and you'll see that's where I post my Transformers fan art, and also interact with the fan communities on there as well. So I hope to see you on those platforms.
All right, and we will link those in our show notes as well, so check that out. All right, everyone, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of Transmissions. But just because this episode is over doesn't mean the Transformers fun has to stop. Join us and other Transformers fans on our Discord chat server by visiting transmissionspodcast.com/discord. If you would like to learn more about how you could support the Transmissions Podcast, just visit transmissionspodcast.com/support. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.